Hi, everyone. My name is Kim, and I'm the owner and founder and creator of Expat Mama. This is a new YouTube channel that focuses on the lives of expats, which is someone who's left their native country to live in another, and we tell their stories. So today, my guests are Charlie and Ximena Higgins, and they're currently located in Bucerias, Mexico, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just start from the beginning. We've kind of focused, we've drawn up an outline for this interview. So Charlie, why don't you talk about where you're from and kind of what your upbringing was like?
Sure, yeah. I was born in New York City, and my parents had lived there for about a decade. And when I was 2, we moved to Connecticut, which was a big change for my brother and sister who are older. It was, going from big city to kind of a suburb with lots of trees and soccer games and all that. And yeah, I just grew up there and pretty much lived my whole childhood in Connecticut. I went away to college in Ohio. I went to Oberlin, which is a music school that also has other disciplines. And when I finished college in 2008, it was the height of the recession. And everyone was freaking out because there were no jobs. I don't know if you remember, like it was when Obama, I think, first became president. It was a period of hope, but also like everybody was very scared. A lot of my classmates who had just graduated or had graduated the year before were living at their parents' house, couldn't get a job. And I had actually spent a semester in Buenos Aires in Argentina at the end of my time in college. So, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. I learned, is the baby waking up? Yeah. Okay, I might have to pause for and I decided to move back there, originally intending to stay there for about a year. And my plan was to do some traveling, perfect my Spanish, which was really not very good yet, and try to get some work teaching English. And so that's what I did. I did a bunch of traveling that year, but then I decided to kind of just settle in Buenos Aires. And what I kept telling my mom, like, oh, just one more year. No, things are going really well. I'm just gonna stay a little longer. Wound up being 9 years.
Well, isn't that interesting? That's what happened to me too. Argentina has a way of sucking you in, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. On the one hand, people are so friendly and they're so interested in you because you're a foreigner.
Yes.
There are a lot of expats there, but it's still, it's not like Mexico where they're used to seeing like foreign tourists coming in all the time. Like they're very curious, and I don't know, it kind of makes you feel like a celebrity in a way.
You become a celebrity in Argentina. You get spoiled. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's just a very cool city. It's got all the cultural offerings of a big city, but if you're able to make dollars or euros, it can be pretty affordable. I would never say it's cheap, but it's definitely, it's not as expensive as London or New York or some other big city that draws a lot of international people in as well. So anyway, I stayed there for 9 years, ups and downs, actions, different financial situations, until I met Ximena actually got a reminder on my Facebook the other day that we've been friends for 5 years.
Hold on, we have to introduce the newest member of the family here. What a cutie!
This is Dylan. He's 5 months old.
He's Mexican.
Hi, Dylan. Hi, Dylan. What a cutie he is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we decided that he has my eyes and Ximena's mouth. And both of our personalities, right?
He's a doll. Honestly. Is he a good baby?
He's a great baby.
He's great, yeah.
Right?
That's wonderful.
So anyway, that means that we met in 2016, right?
Mhm.
2017. Yeah. We met on Tinder. Fortunately, I was not the Tinder swindler. Neither was Ximena.
Oh my God.
There's a new Netflix movie. I don't know if you saw it, but it's terrible. It's about this guy who basically swindles like hundreds of women on Tinder. Anyway, that was not the case. We
You're
really,
one of the good guys on Tinder.
yeah.
So there are good guys on Tinder.
So we really hit it off. We had a lot in common. She had been in a long relationship with an Argentine guy, and I had been in a long relationship with an Argentine girl. So we had a lot to talk about. And Ximena had also grown up in Mexico, but she's Colombian, and she went to an American school.
Mhm.
So her English was perfect, and I felt very comfortable speaking both languages. By that point, my Spanish was pretty good. So, but we would kind of switch back and forth. And so, like, I think I mentioned that Ximena grew up in Mexico. She grew up here in Puerto Vallarta, Bucerias. Her father was see, now I'm just telling your story, so you're gonna have to fill in the gaps. But her father was he was a manager of a couple of different hotels here. So this is where she grew up, and she felt very comfortable here. And she convinced me to come here on vacation and check it out. We were both kind of tired of living in Buenos Aires, so we came here. And after about 2 weeks, we said, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just move here.
Yeah.
And what year was that you moved to Mexico?
So that was 2018. Yeah.
We went back for 6 months to sell all our stuff and like planning everything for the big exit, the big finale of Argentina, and we were back here by September. So it was from March to September.
Yeah.
Got it.
It was fast.
And we moved not to another city in Mexico, not even to another small city or a town. We moved to like a pueblo called San Pancho, which is it's a pretty well-known little community in Nayarit, about an hour from Puerto Vallarta. It's
to the north.
Sorry, north.
To the north.
It's right on the beach. It's very, very tropical, surrounded by jungle. And it has a community of many expats, actually, like a lot of people from the US and Canada, but also all over South America. There's a ton of Argentinos. Like,
know that?
The town is like Argentina now.
Yeah.
But it was a big shift because, you know, we went from hearing sirens and honking horns to hearing roosters and monkeys.
And stray dogs. And a donkey and lots of barking dogs, you told me. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's cutting off a little bit.
Just walking down the
Yeah,
street.
exactly. Okay. And we moved in September, which is the rainy season here. So it was particularly jungly and humid and rainy. So there were, all kinds of crazy looking insects everywhere and animals showing up in our kitchen and in our bathroom.
Nights with like no electricity. Whole nights with no electricity.
Oh my gosh.
We were very in love, so we were all worked out.
We still are.
Yeah, but
it was very much like a honeymoon. It was like,
yeah, we felt like this is magical. If that happens to me right now, I would have a panic attack.
things change once you have a baby, for sure.
Things have shifted a little, and you need your sleep so much now, being a new mom.
Yeah.
But well done. He's such a cutie. I mean, he is such a doll.
Yeah. And we actually, on our first trip to Mexico, before we made the big move, we got engaged on New Year's Eve on the Malecón in Puerto Vallarta. And we planned our wedding for what was it? March of basically a year after 6 months after we moved to San Pancho. We planned our wedding in San Pancho on the beach. We had friends from all over come in. We rented a big house on the beach, and yeah, there are people from Argentina, Japan, the US, Colombia,
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm all over.
yeah,
El
everywhere.
Salvador.
El Salvador. So yeah, and since then we've moved to a slightly more less rural town called Bucerias. That's kind of an in between. It's not quite a big city. It's not Puerto Vallarta, but it's also not a little pueblo where the lights go out all the time.
You need a little bit more civilization.
Yeah,
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you get to-
yeah,
Not rough it so much. Mhm.
yeah, and we feel much more settled than when we first got here in 2018. We have a car, which is nice. I never thought I would like need a car, but it's actually very helpful. And yeah, and then we were blessed with this little miracle about 5 months ago. So we're just enjoying life, learning how to be parents. It's been a great experience so far.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass over the microphone. I don't want to take up all the time.
Ximena, it's your turn.
Can you ask the question again? So I can redirect my
Repeat the
thoughts.
question.
Where did you grow up? What was your upbringing like? You're obviously from Colombia, but we need to fill in a few more blanks here.
Yeah, I am Colombian, but I moved around
Mhm.
a lot. So my dad, I was born in Bogota, but by 3, we had already moved to Cartagena, to the beach. That's when my dad started working with hotels. And but at around 8, my dad's company opens a hotel in Mexico. So my dad moves here and brings us with him. We lived here until I was like about 15 or 16. And we moved to El Salvador. I lived in El Salvador for around 4 to 5 years. And that's when I graduated from high school and I went to Argentina for college.
Oh, all over the place.
Yeah.
So you're culturally competent, is what you would say.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I believe there's not a lot of people like me. And when I meet those people, there's an instant connection because we see the world differently.
Totally. And let's talk about that. How does living abroad change your worldview? Or how does it broaden, how we should say, how does it shape you?
Yeah, I think there's you definitely become a more empathetic person. And also like you understand more context and your worldview is way more open. You get to understand why people are a certain way. I think when you haven't lived in other places, or you lived in the same place your whole life, everything that's different seems wrong.
Oh yeah. They just can't wrap their head around it. And what I'm noticing with even with my family, with my siblings, I noticed like they've always been in the US and they've always been mostly within Utah, which is an ultra conservative society that I have broken out of, thank goodness. I think you guys might know what I'm talking about. But they changing abroad, living abroad changes you like from the core. And then you become kind of unrelatable to like the people who stayed in the same town that you grew up in, or the same society or community, don't you think? You have a hard time coming to common ground, or they have a hard time understanding you, and you can't stand them anymore. That's what I find has happened to me. You're like, they're so ignorant. It keeps them in the your mind is broadened, and once a mind has been expanded, it can't go back. Do we agree?
Right. But at the same time, I think you realize that there are ignorant and closed-minded people everywhere. That's something that living abroad has taught me too.
Yes.
When I first moved to like Argentina, I was like, oh, Argentines are so much more this and so much more that, always positive things. And then after living there for a while, I was like, oh wait, there are also bigots, and there's a lot of ignorance here too, just like anywhere else.
And with in between also, I don't know, in those places where also people are so open-minded, or they think they are.
That's what they think they are. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And they try to convince you that they are, but internally they're not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's like an extreme where the extremes meet at the end,
Yes.
where some people think they're super open-minded, but they're very close-minded.
Oh yeah.
Because they're also open-minded. People who are close-minded are terrible for them, are the worst. You know what I mean? Like it just,
Yeah, when they become so ideological that like anybody who doesn't line up with their belief system is
wrong.
Is wrong, yeah. Or worth ridiculing or worth kind of disparaging.
Well, are you talking about Argentines in particular, or just people in general?
No. People in general.
Because if you know you've lived in Buenos Aires, you know that they have an opinion on every single thing that you can't even have an opinion on.
And it's very black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the US is like the same,
It is becoming that way for sure. It is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I feel now with like, I think our generation is also very much opinionated.
Opinólogos.
Because
Spanish. Opinionist.
So much information.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
There's information overload everywhere you look. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That looks good on you, Charlie, by the way.
Thanks.
It's struggling a little bit.
His mouth's all covered with milk.
Real little, he wouldn't, he would just eat and he would just not move much. And now he's so distracted by everything. Just all over.
He wants to know what you're doing there with like the camera. What are we doing? Who are we talking to here?
What's going on here?
I can't touch her or anything.
You're gonna be a YouTube star.
Hopefully like Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, for example, what do your lives look like on a daily basis, you guys as a family?
Well, there's been so much change in the past 4 months that I don't know if
Excuse me.
I don't know if we have one yet. There's been so much change.
Correct.
We now are trying to figure out what it means to have a baby and what it means to be a family, because we used to be independent people who lived together. So we both had our responsibilities in our lives, and we shared stuff. But now we are a unit.
Correct.
That shift has been a little hard.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of grief over like what we left behind when we had him.
Yeah, and the freedom of just being like, oh, let's go out tonight. Yeah, we don't need to plan anything. Let's just grab the car, go. And now it's like, no, hold on. We need to pack the baby bag. We need to make sure the car seat's there. We need to
Plan
work
his
around his
naps.
nap time.
Mhm.
I just
You froze up just a second here. What was the last thing you said,
Oh.
Charlie? Because
I said, you start to think about all the things you have to plan to like have an evening out with the baby. You just wind up being like, let's just stay at home and watch Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, and there's such thing as exhaustion, because you just don't have the energy. The baby does zap out your energy like you don't even realize,
Yeah.
So yeah, big changes there. Huge changes.
It's we're realizing it's just this stage of life, and if we have another kid, it's going to be all over again. But then eventually they're old enough to go out and do all, basically be our little companions. So So yeah, it's been great so far, but yeah, for sure there's been some challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
I will mention that the whole medical experience, the birth and our doctor's visits have just been amazing and so much cheaper than the US. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if
Let's talk
anyone's
about
ever
that.
thinking about
Talk about that. Talk about the medical part.
yeah, well, just to put in perspective, like our monthly pediatrician appointments, or sorry, with the OBGYN with Dr. Ruiz.
Yeah.
Ortiz, sorry. It was $20 for an hour-long consultation with an ultrasound.
A 3D
Wow.
ultrasound, everything. The
Yeah.
whole thing.
That's
And
unheard of.
and this isn't like some,
Put 'em down there.
yeah, we'll put it on. This is the guy who's, there we go. Let's see how he deals.
It's in his little chair, his little swing.
Yeah. And this was a very qualified doctor, you know, he had 30 years of experience.
He's
very
one of
reputable.
the oldest doctors here. You actually saw whoever you talk to, and if you talk to, like, if you ask about him, they're like, oh yeah, he was my doctor. He brought me, or somebody has worked with him because
Yeah.
he's
Mhm.
been around for so long. And he's
Very well
close.
established in that area and very
Yeah.
trustworthy.
So
Mhm.
we felt very well taken care of. We were very lucky we didn't have any kind of scares or
Nothing.
blips in the whole experience. And then the hospital experience was also great. The cost wound up being like how much was it?
It was covered by our insurance.
Right,
Nice.
we have medical insurance in Mexico that covers basically like catastrophes or huge
Mhm.
expenses. It doesn't cover things like, you know,
Like a broken bone.
oh no, it would cover that.
No. No.
Well, it doesn't cover little things. You get something stuck in your eye or something like that. No, that's out of pocket. But anything major, like childbirth, is totally covered.
Hmm.
Uh,
It's
but if
covered
you
under
have-
catastrophe insurance? Child
Yeah,
birth
because
is?
it's considered like
Okay.
a major expense.
It's not catastrophe. It's called gastos mayores.
Yeah,
So
major expenses.
major expenses.
Major expenses, yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, we chose a hospital in Puerto Vallarta.
We chose one of the best hospitals, the fanciest ones. And
Yeah.
Of course.
we chose it because it was convenient for us.
Mhm.
Because it was close to our house. There was a Holiday Inn. There's a Holiday Inn right next to it. So we had
Her parents were able to stay there.
my parents stayed next to
Mhm.
us, and it just worked for us.
Yeah, and yeah, we were just very comfortable there. It was like being in a Holiday Inn. We had our own,
It was like
hotel room.
$1,000.
yeah, for all of that.
for
Wow.
the hospital and the doctor,
Three nights in the hospital.
and 2 nights.
2 nights in the hospital.
Wow.
With like round the clock care, very comfortable room.
Oh,
Yeah, so we were
That's
psyched about
perfect.
Yeah, and considering that same quality of service in the US, I think would have been triple or quadruple easily.
Easily.
Yeah. And it's sad to hear people talk about how, like, oh, we don't want, I've people my age, friends in the US, they say like, we don't want to have kids because it's just too expensive. You know, we'd rather just spare ourselves. And it's sad, you know, like you can tell that they want to, but it's just like when they think about those expenses, especially if they don't have.
This
good
is why I
healthcare.
started this channel, is so
then-
that people can see the real lives of people who are doing it, you know, to see that they don't have to, I mean, I don't know when the last time you were in the States. But we were there during the pandemic for 9 months in Northern California.
Mhm.
I think it had to have been some of the worst 9 months of my life and of the lives of my
Wow.
kids.
Wow.
In so many ways, but we were in close to the Bay Area. So I saw a lot of homelessness, a lot of despair. And like you say, Ximena, when you become empathetic from living abroad, you can see those things really quite clearly. I mean, I don't think you have to be that empathetic to see what's going on around in the big cities in the US right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are suffering and they don't know what they can do. And so I felt compelled to start this channel to show what you can do and to give hope to people and actually see the people that are doing this, you know?
Yeah.
Because
And since the pandemic started, we've seen so many Americans and Canadians moving down here for 6 months at a time or full time, because so much of their of work these days has gone virtual.
remote. Yeah.
So yeah, so we have a friend who, you know, she was an architect in Houston, couldn't really stand living in Houston. She came to Sayulita, which is a town just up the road. And at first it was kind of like a hybrid situation where she would go back and forth. And now,
because she had a boyfriend.
well, that too, yeah.
And then she broke up with the boyfriend and she stayed at Sayulita.
Right.
Of course.
Well, yeah, I ran into the other day. She was like, no, now like my work is 100% online. So I can just live in this little Mexican beach town and go to the beach every day and still make a good living, still do what I need to do. But, you know, the cost of living is lower, and just the ease of living in a place where you don't need a car to get around. I mean, Houston is very, there's a lot of sprawl there. So I imagine like to get around is very challenging. And we've just met a lot of people like that who are just like, you know what, the pandemic taught me like life's too short. You know, if I can work from my computer, why? I mean, that's what brought us here. I mean, like Ximena had the idea like, why are we living in Buenos Aires in this big city when we can live in some beautiful place in Mexico? We should try it out, you know?
Yeah. When I met Charlie, he told me that he always dreamed of being with someone that could travel with him.
Yeah.
Because he said, he's like, I have this work that's remote, but I'm like stuck to a city because I'm dating someone that can't move.
Yeah.
So I told him like, well, I'm a cook, so I guess I can cook anywhere.
Yay.
I'm tired of living here too. I want to change.
Yeah.
And I want to move around, and I think it's the right moment because we are not getting any younger.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we did it at the right moment.
That's for sure.
Because we were established here for the pandemic. It wasn't that we just arrived, it was that we were already here. We had a nice house. We knew how to move around and everything worked out.
Yeah. And, you know, the pandemic definitely brought challenges to our lives, definitely brought challenges to the people who live here in Mexico, in this part of Mexico. But nowhere near, you know, a lot of the horror stories we've heard about other big cities where everything shut down and people were just stuck in their tiny apartment for months on end. There were cancellations of things in the beginning. They did do some, they closed some beaches in the very beginning, and then they realized that nobody was going to follow that order. So ended up practically enforce it. You know, this is a beach community.
And it's also healthy for people to go to the beach. It's been proven that the air quality.
Yeah. And I would say 90% of the restaurants have al fresco dining, so they close down a little bit in the beginning, but you know, they open back up, and there's been times when okay, we're going to be a little stricter about the masks, or we're going to have restricted hours, but it's been a very light quarantine, you know,
not so isolating.
A lot of places. So we've been very fortunate.
Because that's what kills you is if when you can't go out, you know, and you're just stuck inside. I mean, that's called the whole world got depressed all of a sudden, you know, when you can't get out and see anything except the four walls that are inside your house. That's not good for anyone's mental health. So you're in a beautiful place, surrounded, you know, you've got the beach there. I've actually taken, I'm going to back away a little from the camera and you guys can probably tell us. So I found this, how do I get out of here? Okay. Stepping away from the screensaver here, where do I go? Okay. So this is Sayulita. that I found
Uh-huh.
screensaver on Zoom. So why don't you just kind of tell us, like, this is where you guys, where you play in your band.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Right along this beach, there's a number of different sort of beachfront restaurants and bars. And there's one that's called Frente al Punto. If you're ever in Sayulita, you should definitely visit it.
Yeah.
It's a very unique place because it's owned by this like wonderful family who become good friends of ours, and it's got a grassy a lawn that's right on the beach. So we set up a stage there, and people come and they bring their kids, they bring their dogs, and everyone gathers around. It kind of feels like summer camp, you know, like a concert at like a summer camp.
Or like a kind of like a Woodstock.
Yeah.
I think it's
like a little mini music festival every
like,
Sunday.
Yeah, there's people like having picnics on the lawn and kids dancing everywhere, dogs.
Yeah.
It's not structured, but it's a very beautiful place with delicious food and drinks, and everyone's just having fun.
Yeah.
I always say that it surprises me how everyone's always happy, and there's no drunk people. There's definitely drinking, but you never see like that table where they're like drinking like crazy, because everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Nobody needs to go over the line because it's not necessary.
So there isn't that
Not
like,
sure about everything inside.
so there isn't like that drink to get drunk kind of culture there where in that area is what you're saying.
Well, no.
Unhealthy.
In that venue, because Sayulita is definitely a party town, and it has a reputation.
That's why it's surprising for me, like what Charlie brings, like the music that he makes and like the energy that he brings to the stage attracts families and groups of people, healthy people that just want to dance and have fun, but not go crazy.
I saw that in the music video. Can you talk about the music video that you made?
Yeah, well, a little bit of that.
So yeah, this was an idea that came up
when I was pregnant.
A year ago. Yeah. Well, basically, when we found out that Ximena was pregnant, I got very inspired. I had already been playing with a band, but I decided to just take it a little bit more seriously. And also I started writing a lot of music. And I wrote this song that wound up being called The Tale of a Lost Gringo. And the song is basically, the lyrics are about a guy who gets tired of his life in San Francisco, and he starts driving down the coast, you know, through Mexico, and he stops in each town. It says, I made friends with every gringo in each pueblo, and then I settled down in Sayulita. I had some good tequila in a town called Sayulita, and I knew that night I was sold. So he wants to stay in Sayulita, and but then pretty soon he gets a little swept up into the hard party culture, and he starts, you know, he spends all his money on party. He has to sell his car, and he winds up becoming very jaded.
It's a little illusion of Hotel California, where you come in and everything looks beautiful, but then it starts getting creepy.
You see the dark side, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that I actually witnessed in person because I would play at some of the little bars around town, you know, places, and you'd see these gringos who had just arrived, and they were all, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and oh yeah, I'm doing yoga every day, and oh my God, Sayulita and this warm weather, and such a great change from my busy life. And then you see them like a month later, and they're like, they just look down, you know. they look like
tired.
They look like they've been hit by a truck or something. And it's because it's such a fun place for young people that they get a little swept up in the.
They get carried away, and then
I can go out every night, and you know, especially if they're not working like regular hours, you know, they're just doing whatever they want. So that was the inspiration for the song. And we started performing it live at Frente al Punto, well, at different venues, but like mainly there. And I just noticed like people just love the song, you know, and that was a really good feeling to see people reacting to original music.
People dancing and everything all around, whole families and retired couples. I'm just observing what I saw in the video.
Yeah.
Which by the way, we're going to put the link to that video. I'm going to insist that we put that in the description so that people can see that video. Yeah.
And so.
But then what happened with the other part of the video?
Well, let me just. This got me thinking, like, you know, why don't we, you know, people would take videos on their cell phones and it was like, wow, like what's going on there? But I started thinking like, well, what if we invest a little money and really capture this, you know, with good cameras and good lighting, and we get a lot of people to come out. And so I talked to a friend of mine and he recommended this, this video guy named Jesse. And we started brainstorming, you know, how can we do this? And we set a date. We said, okay, we're gonna film us performing the song at Frente al Punto. We're gonna invite everyone we know. And so that's how we got all the footage of the band playing with the audience. And it turned out to be a great night. Like the place was packed, and you can feel there's like this really happy, positive energy. From people that were there.
Definitely.
And so then we started, you know, we finished the filming side of it. Jesse sent me some edits, and I said, this is really good. I really like the lighting, great quality. The performance is nice. There's something missing though. I'm not sure what it is. Let me like think about this. And a friend suggested to me, well, Ximena and I had done a maternity shoot on the beach. Kind of when it was about the same time. Yeah. And in that photo shoot, I decided to wear this giant like inflatable flamingo. I just thought it'd be like cute and fun.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so a friend of mine saw those photos and he said, you know, why don't you film yourself walking around Sayulita, be the Lost Gringo that you're talking about, wearing this giant flamingo. And I thought, that's a hilarious idea. That's so visually like striking.
It is funny. It's very funny.
So that was kind of the part two of the video production process. We spent an afternoon in Sayulita. I had a few mezcals and tequilas, and you know, got confident. It was my first time like acting on a camera, and we filmed all those scenes where I go out, I swim out into the water, because you know the song ends with the gringo saying, I went down to the water tonight to swim with the fishes under the full moon night, which, you know, that expression, it alludes to like the mafia, and kind of like, you know, it means that he's, you know, probably not going to make it out there. We didn't want to make it like a suicide song, because that's not cool. Like, you know, that's not. Well,
did he get eaten by a shark, or what happened to that lost?
There you go. It could be anything. Yeah.
Lost and floated out to sea.
Anyway, we filmed these shots of where I go out into the water, you know, and I went for it. I went right into the water. You know, we did like 4 or 5 shots of those. Yeah, it's fun. And then we did a lot of shots of me walking around the town. All these people staring at me like, what is this guy doing wearing a giant flamingo?
And cameras behind him.
On a Monday night, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Sayulita is so weird like that. There's always crazy things happening. There's always, you know, a sword swallower or a fire eater, or, you know, it's a very artistic community. So people were also like, okay,
I'll come on camera, no problem. Yeah.
just another night in Sayulita. So yeah, and then, you know, after some really great editing, it all came together. And we've just been trying to share it with as many people as possible, because we're very proud of it. We think it's great, a great way to show our music in a way that really feels true to the song, feels true to, you know, I believe that music happens within a context and a place. So I think it's really cool that, and you know, not always does the music kind of like, does it have like a good marriage with the place, you know? And I feel like with this video, we were able to achieve that a little bit.
That's an awesome video that I want the whole world to see. I'm going to spread it.
Do it. Spread the word.
Spread the word, and hopefully you'll get more gigs and all that. So I'm all about helping people, grow in their professions and their activities like that.
To play
You got a great
that.
band though. You've got a great gig going on.
They're amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's been a great experience.
What's the name of your band, by the way?
What's the name?
Yeah.
Oh, well, originally it was just Sunset Station.
Mhm.
And then we changed it to, I realized that there was another Sunset Station playing out of Florida. And I thought, if we ever like wind up playing in the US, and also for when people search for us online, I don't want there to be any confusion. But I also don't want to lose the name completely, because a lot of people already know who we are and they follow us. So I added Charlie Higgins, which is my name, and Sunset Station. So it's a little bit long, but I suppose there are longer names, longer band names.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we did a little rebranding, made a new logo, and the name kind of stuck. So that's how people can.
I love the way it looks. I'm no expert in branding or anything, but I love the video. Well, of course, I've known you for several years, and I should just tell everybody how we met. We both work as translators, so you're my best translator by far. Yeah. Yeah, you're my top translator. You're like my go-to guy that I send all the work to. There just hasn't been a whole lot of work during the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's a fact. But yeah, you're my guy. I call you and contact you. So yeah, that's how we met. We've been working together since both of us were in Buenos Aires, I think.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
that's been like 10 years.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
You guys have a longer
more.
relationship.
I've known you, longer than I have Ximena. It's true.
Oh, come on, Ximena. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. And translation is still my main gig, the music, we're starting to be able to charge more, but music is just undervalued in society. That's a fact of life.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy translating most of the time. It's very flexible work. I'm kind of a grammar nerd, so I like, more than translating, I think at this point I like editing, post-editing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I've focused on too. I've transitioned over that. It's more creative. Yeah. It's more creative. You can work with the text more and.
Yeah, and I really enjoy taking something that's kind of poorly written or sloppily written and cleaning it up,
Yeah.
And then I've also just started to get into voiceover work. So a guy that I work with he's on like the marketing and publicity side of this organization, International Lentil and Bean Organization. That's called Pulses, the World Pulse Association. He's asked me to do some voiceover work for his videos, so I've been practicing that.
Nice.
Interesting work, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the good thing about working freelance, Yeah, try out different things and see what you like, and a little bit of everything, makes the big pot. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not as easy as people think. Reading a text and not stuttering, not making any just keeping it really consistent. I think as a musician and a singer, it comes a little easier to me. I kind of can hear how it's supposed to sound, I guess. So hopefully that'll lead to some more work. We'll see.
Yeah, you guys are gonna just do really well. You guys have everything it takes to be successful. You've got the attitude, the aptitude. You figured things out, and you will continue. Just as life changes, you guys will be able to roll with those punches. Yeah. You're very much like that. What would you say? Well, okay, let me just ask you one last question. If for the people who are listening, what kind of advice would you give someone if they were thinking about creating this kind of lifestyle that you guys have, this kind of life?
I would say make sure before you make any kind of big move, Well, it kind of depends on what stage you're in life. If you're 20 years old, hop on the plane and just go,
Just go, yeah, don't even think about it.
You'll figure it out. Yeah. Once you get to be in your 30s, you want to start thinking about, oh, well, what do I want to do? Just make sure whatever big move you have, you've got the financials in order, and that you're going to have steady work once you get to that new place. Because I have seen people be like, oh, I'll just move to Mexico, it's so cheap there, or I'll just go to Argentina, and they don't really have things organized, and they wind up literally living in poverty, and it's just thinking, why did I ever leave? So I think that's really important, just on a practical side. And then I don't know, keep an open mind, and definitely learn the language if you're moving to a new place. I meet a lot of gringos who have lived here for 10 years and they still don't speak a word of Spanish. It's just come on.
I feel like moving to a place has to be convenient for you, but it also has to come from a place where you want to learn from the other culture.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The people from that place are going to respect you more if they see that you're showing an interest for them and for their culture.
Yeah.
I think what all of us, the three of us, can coincide in the fact that you've seen many people who haven't done this, I live in the biggest expat area of Mexico, which is Lake Chapala, or one of the biggest. I think Puerto Vallarta might be the biggest, but maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Puerto Vallarta, Lake Chapala, San Miguel de Allende, Merida, Tulum. Those are some of the bigger ones. Of course, Mexico City. Yeah. But in this area, it's a retiree area, and a lot of people just see no point in learning Spanish. And I see a lot of mistreatment going on towards the Mexicans, and it really it just makes me really upset, and I can get on my soapbox for hours and days and years about this. And at the same time, I have friends in the US. I have one particular friend from another South American country who's lived in the US probably 40 years and never learned English. And I just think, what are you missing out on? You really are missing a whole part of your life that you choose not to integrate into their society, and culture and language are all in one. You're missing out, honestly. It is. And when you learn a language, it's like you get a second soul, like Charlemagne said. There's a French philosopher that said that you gain another soul if you learn another language, and really you probably notice that your personality is different in another language because it's another facet that you integrate into you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree completely with all of that. And it's so great once you get to a point in your language and your learning of that second language, when you can understand humor and really be able to relate to people on an equal level, and that takes time. Not everyone is really capable of that, I guess, especially if you start learning at a really older age. So that's why it's so important. We want to get this guy speaking English and Spanish fluently, as soon as possible. And then hopefully some other languages, we'll see. I speak to him in English and Ximena speaks to him in Spanish.
That was my next question. I was going to say, how do you handle that? Yes. So your dad speaks English to Dylan, and mom speaks Spanish. Okay, that's awesome. One last question before we wind things up. Is there anything you want to say that maybe we haven't covered in this interview? What have you guys learned from each other being together?
What have we learned from each other?
Yeah. Because even though you've had similar, you guys, we talked before this, and I've interviewed you. This is our second interview. You talked about, for example, how she's taught you how to eat better, the breakfast. Can you talk a little bit about that, maybe? Because you've had similar backgrounds, but there's always things that you can learn from each other as couples that have grown up in different places. As Ximena exits out the scene. I don't want to talk about this.
I don't know.
Jimenez taught me a lot about just being more in touch with my feelings, I guess, and like learning how to express those better and not just like internalizing them. Because I come from like a very like Catholic family where everyone just kind of internalizes all of their guilt and their trauma, and they don't express it. And that was how I grew up. And with Ximena, I've learned to, just
Exteriorize
let
it.
it tell the person what you're feeling, even if it's hard. But it's better in the long run.
We worked on that. I think men have that problem.
Yes.
And
Not as easy.
I'm sorry. This one.
I'm sorry. He wants to participate in the interview. You got to let him say what he wants to say. Come on.
That was Dylan. What do you have to say?
What do you want to say, Dill? Yeah. You're
getting
totally
tasty?
right, Dylan. I totally agree with what you say. Yeah.
It's crazy that you're also named Dylan.
Yeah, we both have Dylans. Yeah. Mine's just a little more outspoken than yours in a different way.
Yeah. I think we both learned a lot from each other. I think you taught me how to be less emotional and more.
So I've taught you to be less emotional, and you've taught me to be more emotional.
More.
And we meet halfway.
He's taught me how to be more objective.
Perfect.
So,
As long as you're willing to work with each other and not kill each other, that works, Because a lot of couples aren't willing to meet halfway. You know that. Yeah. So you're a team. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's no, when we have discussions and stuff, I always tell him like it's about we're having these problems because we love each other, and this is the only way we can stay together is by having these discussions.
Exactly.
Then we explode.
Yeah. And it's going to drive a wedge between you. Every couple has these issues, you got to talk about it, and you're teaching him how to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm probably like a little bit to the extreme because I want to talk about everything, but that's also, I'm Colombian and we talk a lot.
Yeah.
My family talks a lot about issues, and we're always it's always about sharing. And I think that's where we are completely different people. So we've come to, or we're trying at least to like find a middle ground where we're both comfortable.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to this interview before we just kind of ask you if you want to be contacted, and if so, how can people contact you?
People can definitely reach out if they have any questions about living in this part of Mexico or living in Argentina, or they want to listen to my music, or I don't know, just send us a joke or
Yeah, we'll be.
Want to know about babies? We're becoming experts on that.
We've done the whole migration process here.
Oh yeah, that's, people need help with that.
And if somebody needs help with that, we'll gladly help them, because we wish we had somebody that helped us. It was because it was
It's not easy to navigate that process.
No.
And the way it's always changing too, and things are changing all the time,
Exactly. Yeah.
We just need to put a cape on him and have him fly around.
He loves swimming too.
Swimming, love it. You're in the perfect place for that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Water, he's like just go.
I love it. Little rolls on his legs. He's at that cute age where you can just squeeze him. I love it.
Yeah.
Hold that thought for just a second as I just say something to our viewers. So just want to, if you're watching this video, and just want to thank you so much. We'd love to get your comments, suggestions. Please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. because the purpose of this channel is to actually show you that living like this is possible. That's why I started this channel. It's called Expat Mama, but the mama is M-A-M-A because I mean, I'm an American expat, but I'm living in Latin America, so there's the mama part. So it's really indicative of how somebody, you know, anyone can actually create this if you get your ducks in a row and just figure out like what works for you and what country and what kind of lifestyle you can actually create. So we'd appreciate that feedback, and the interviews are both in English and Spanish. So we would love to have you join our community. Ximena and Charlie, thanks so much for coming on, and Dylan, little Dylancito. Thanks so much for your perspective and for being willing to come on, and even sleep deprived and everything as you are. I really appreciate the willingness. So people, you know, can reach out to you and ask any questions. Really appreciate that. What is the best way to contact you, Charlie and Ximena? Where are you guys located, on social media or email? What's the best way?
My email, I'll just put on a little card here.
Okay. In any case, it'll go in the description box, so don't even worry about it.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead and put it up. Love it.
You can see it backwards.
Higgins,
Oh, it's backwards? Oh,
1985.
okay, never mind.
Oh,
Yeah, just put it in the
right. It came back all right on the screen.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
It did. So it's like
Yeah.
chickens. So C Higgins 1985 at gmail.com. I've written that email so many times. Familiar with that. And that's the best way to contact both of you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Any last words, famous last words before we sign off?
Well, thank you very much for inviting us and letting us be part of your community. It's always really nice to see you and to talk to you.
It's good. We need to get together again. I need to come out and visit you guys. Definitely.
Yeah.
We need to take a mini beach vacation out to Bucerias, which we've never been to. So
Yeah. And let us know questions about anything about Colombia or
Yeah.
her parents are like the most generous, welcoming people. So if you find yourself in Bogota and need like a helping hand, like just you can contact them for sure.
Yeah.
that actually might happen. That actually might happen as our family creates kind of a part-time between Colombia and Mexico. So that's what we're working on right now. So definitely we'll keep talking about that. I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks so much for coming on, and have a great weekend. And we'll be
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Adios.
Yeah.